what's going on? It's Ranesh, and today I want to talk to you about the thing that you're probably hiding behind, and that is your hesitations. What are you hesitating on in your life right now? Maybe it's that thing that you want to start. Maybe it's that person you want to talk to. Maybe it's that new thing that you want to put into your business, thing that you want to learn about. Maybe it's that new way of doing something or that conversation that you're trying to have, but you're just hesitating on it. Well, I'll tell you this, your life will never move further than the distance between you and your hesitations. So if you and your hesitations are like this, you're not going to get anywhere. So how do you bust through hesitation and really get to that place where you're actually beginning things? Well, here's the thing. If you're hesitating on something, you're making it bigger in your head than your hands, right? It gets so big in your head, you're like, oh my God, you're building this thing up to be this monster of a thing, when in reality, it's just something that you're contriving in your head. Once you start beginning on something and you put it in your hands and you're like, wow, I'm actually working on this. I'm molding it, I'm mending it, I'm twisting it, I'm turning. I have it in my control. Then that hesitation starts to dwindle, starts to go down. So I encourage you, look at your day. Look at the thing that you're hiding behind. And usually it's something that you've just been hesitating on for maybe the last week, the last month, maybe the last year. Maybe it's that phone call. Maybe it's just that email that you have to write. Start it. Do it today. Because if you don't do it today, what happens is this, that wall, that veil of hesitation that you continually sit behind, it gets thicker. And it gets to be more of a monster, because now your mind gets creative. And if you're in your head, you're never going to get out into the world to do the things you got to do. Doers don't sit in their mind. People that actually do take action actually have a thought, and they translate that thought from their head to their hands, and they move and they get going. So I encourage you to kind of take an inner perspective on the things that you're hesitating on and realize that those stories, those places or those validations that you're giving yourself that, hey, this is why I'm hesitating, or these are the reasons why I'm not doing this. All those things are just made up. And you may have had a negative experience before, and that's fine. But yesterday doesn't equal tomorrow. The past doesn't define you. It only refines you. And if you believe that what happened yesterday doesn't define you, it only refines you, then you also have to believe that, hey, if I'm hesitating, I'm not going to be moving forward. If I'm hesitating, I'm going to be stuck in that place. My life will never be as great as it can become if I don't go through the frustration of the hesitation. And that's the key. You have to move through that rough spot. You have to move through the frustration of that hesitation, because you see, that hesitation is placed in your mind, in your day, however big or small it is, to make you become the person that can support the outcome you're trying to reach. Does that make sense? If you want to get to that next step, you have to be that person, that new person who has the strength to support what they want to become. And hesitations are thorns in our mind that once we trim them, once we cut them, once we polish them, once we shave them, once we get them out, what happens? We turn into that person who can go through that frustration. We turn into that person who can say, hey, I know I don't feel like doing this, but just because I don't feel like it doesn't mean that I just fall back and do nothing about it. You see, we always think that the prerequisite to do something is feeling. Hey, you know what? I'm doing this because I feel like it. But if you always count on your feelings to follow through, you're never going to get there. Take note of that. If you always count on your feelings to follow through, you won't get there. So you may not feel like doing that thing today, but ask yourself this: how much longer am I going to hide behind these stories, these things that I'm making up in my head that are holding me back from my true potential, what I can become? And how much longer am I going to let it take the time of my life? Is it going to take another week? Is it going to take another month, another half a year, another year? look, that's something you'll never get back. You'll never get it back. Hey, if you want the hesitation back in the future, you'll always be able to tap into it. But time, you will never get that time back in your life. So think about how and what you can start today. What can you move on? How can you lean into the frustration? How can you embrace the fear? How can you say, hey, one step today, a small step towards that thing. And in that step is this insight, the intelligence, and the encouragement to take the next step. So stop hiding behind your hesitations. Take that next step today. You'll see that once you bust through the frustration, life becomes more of who you were meant to be. So I hope this one helped. And as always, like I always say, leave me a comment, like this, share it. Let me know what you thought. I make these for you so that way you get a little bit more insight, a little bit more inspiration in your day to kind of do the things that you want to do. And as always, like I say, have an incredible day and live inspired.